Captain David Reed stared at the viewing screen as his ship, the Horizon Walker, dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Stars stretched in all directions, but these were not the familiar constellations of Earth. After 3 years of planning and building, humanity had finally reached beyond their home solar system. David felt a mix of excitement and nervousness as he realized they were truly alone out here, farther from home than any human had ever been. The ship's communication officer, Lieutenant Maria Santos, looked up from her station with confusion written across her face. "Captain, I'm picking up signals. Multiple ships, moving fast, heading straight for us." David frowned. Earth scientists had detected no signs of intelligent life in this region of space. The signals could only mean one thing: they were not alone in the galaxy. His heart raced as he wondered what kind of beings they might encounter. Would they be friendly, curious, or something else entirely? "Put it on screen," David ordered. The main display flickered to life, showing dozens of sleek vessels approaching from different directions. The ships were unlike anything humans had ever built. Smooth, silver surfaces that seemed to bend light around them, with no visible engines or weapons ports. They moved with perfect coordination, like a school of fish responding to an invisible signal. "This is Captain David Reed of the Earth vessel Horizon Walker," he broadcast on all frequencies. "We come in peace, seeking contact with other intelligent species. Please respond." The response came not in words, but in action. Without warning, beams of pure energy lanced out from the alien ships. The Horizon Walker's shields, humanity's most advanced technology, lasted barely 3 seconds before collapsing. The ship shuddered as energy blasts tore through the hull. "Shields down! Hull breach on decks 4 and 5! Shouted the engineering officer. David gripped his chair as the ship spun wildly. "Return fire, all weapons!" The Horizon Walker's laser cannons fired desperately at the alien vessels, but the beams seemed to bend around them, unable to find their mark. Meanwhile, more energy blasts struck the human ship. Systems failed one by one as the attack continued. "Captain, we need to retreat," Maria called out as sparks flew from her console. "Agreed. Jump to hyperspace now." The Horizon Walker's engines screamed as they tore a hole in space-time. The ship vanished just as another volley of energy beams passed through. The space where it had been? David's crew had escaped, but barely. As they raced back toward Earth, they carried with them the terrible knowledge that humanity was not welcome in the galaxy. 3 days later, Admiral Lisa Torres stood in the command center of Earth's orbital defense station, watching the reports flow in. The Horizon Walker had returned damaged and carrying stories that seemed impossible to believe. Aliens existed, and they had attacked without provocation or warning. "The ship's logs are clear," reported Dr. Marcus Webb, the head of Earth's Space Research Program. "The alien vessels showed technology far beyond anything we can produce. Energy weapons that ignore our shields, ships that can bend light around them, and coordination that suggests a hive mind or advanced communication system." Lisa nodded grimly. "What's our defensive situation?" "Not good," Marcus admitted. "We have 47 patrol ships, most of them designed for asteroid mining or cargo transport. Our orbital platforms carry weapons meant for destroying space debris, not fighting a war. If these aliens decide to attack Earth directly, we're not ready." As if summoned by his words, alarms began blaring throughout the station. The sensor officer's face went pale as he studied his displays. "Admiral, we have contacts. Hundreds of them entering the outer solar system." Lisa felt her stomach drop. "The aliens!" "Confirmed. Same energy signatures as the ships that attacked the Horizon Walker. They're moving toward our outer colonies." The alien fleet moved through space like a force of nature. They ignored Earth's desperate attempts at communication, brushing aside the small patrol ships that tried to intercept them. Their first target was New Geneva, a mining colony built inside a hollowed-out asteroid, home to 2 million people. It was humanity's furthest outpost. The colony's administrator, Robert Hayes, had less than an hour to organize an evacuation. But where could they go? The transport ships could carry maybe 50,000 people, and the alien fleet was already surrounding the asteroid. "This is New Geneva calling any Earth vessel," Robert broadcast. "We are under attack by unknown aliens." "Repeat, we are under attack. They're not responding to our communications. They're just they're just killing us." The alien ships fired in perfect unison. Beams of energy struck the asteroid from all sides, boring through rock and metal like they were paper. The colony's shields lasted only seconds before failing completely. Then the real destruction began. The aliens did not try to capture the colony or steal its resources. They simply erased it. The asteroid that had been New Geneva became a cloud of glowing particles drifting through space. 2 million human lives ended in less than 10 minutes. The attack did not stop there. The alien fleet split into smaller groups, each heading toward a different human settlement. The research stations around Jupiter fell next, their scientists unable to even send a distress call before the energy beams found them. The mining platforms in the asteroid belt lasted longer, but only because it took the aliens more time to hunt them down. Back on Earth, Lisa watched the destruction unfold on her screens. Each blinking light that disappeared represented thousands of human lives. The colonies that had taken decades to build were being destroyed in minutes. "Why are they doing this?" she whispered. Marcus looked up from his analysis of the alien attacks. "I think they see us as a threat. Our expansion into space, our technology, our very existence. They're not trying to conquer us, Admiral. They're trying to exterminate us." The truth of his words became clear as the alien fleet regrouped and began moving toward the inner solar system. They were not interested in Earth's resources or strategic position. They wanted humanity gone, completely and permanently. As the first alien ships entered the orbit of Mars, Lisa realized that the war for humanity's survival had already begun. Earth's small fleet of patrol ships moved to intercept them, but everyone knew it was hopeless. The aliens had shown they could destroy anything humanity had built. The galaxy had thrown the first punch, and it looked like it might be the last one needed. The destruction of the outer colonies left humanity reeling, but it also did something the aliens had not expected. It united every person on Earth and Mars around a single goal: survival. In hidden facilities across both worlds, scientists and engineers worked around the clock to find some way to fight back against technology that seemed impossible to defeat. Dr. Marcus Webb had not slept in 3 days. His team had been studying the wreckage of alien ships that had been damaged in the attacks on the colonies. The pieces were small, but they told a story that gave him hope. "The aliens' weapons are incredibly powerful," he explained to Admiral Lisa Torres during an emergency briefing. "But they follow patterns. They fire in sequence, always from the same angle, always with the same energy output. It's like they're using a computer program that never changes." Lisa leaned forward. "What does that mean for us?" "It means they're predictable. If we can figure out their patterns, we might be able to avoid their fire long enough to get close. And if we can get close..." Marcus pulled up images of damaged alien hull material. "Their ships are strong, but they're not perfect. We found stress fractures where our weapons hit them. We're not powerless." The first test of this theory came when Captain Amy Foster volunteered to take a converted cargo ship against an alien patrol. Her vessel, the Defiant Hope, had been a simple freight hauler just weeks before. Now it carried every weapon the engineers could fit inside its hull, along with new armor plating made from materials recovered from the destroyed colonies. Amy's ship dropped out of hyperspace, right in the middle of the alien patrol's formation. The 3 alien vessels immediately turned toward her, their weapons charging with deadly precision. But Amy had studied the attack patterns Marcus had discovered. She knew exactly when and where they would fire. The Defiant Hope twisted and rolled through space, following a path that seemed random but was actually carefully calculated. The alien energy beams passed harmlessly through empty space while Amy's ship closed the distance. When she was finally close enough, she opened fire with everything she had. The alien ship's shields flickered and failed under the concentrated barrage. Hull plating cracked and atmosphere vented into space. One alien vessel exploded completely, while the other two limped away, severely damaged. Amy had done the impossible. She had won a fight against the aliens. "This is Defend Hope to Earth. Command," she broadcast, her voice shaking with exhaustion and excitement. "Targets destroyed or driven off. The aliens can be beaten. Repeat, the aliens can be beaten." The victory was small, but its impact was enormous. Within hours, every human settlement was buzzing with the news. The aliens were not invincible. They could be hurt, they could be confused, and they could be killed. More importantly, the battle revealed something crucial about the alien mindset. When Amy's unconventional tactics succeeded, the surviving alien ships had not adapted or changed their approach. They had simply retreated, unable to cope with an enemy that did not follow the rules they expected. Colonel Ryan Mitchell was the first to understand what this meant. A career military officer, he had spent years studying warfare and tactics. As he reviewed the footage from Amy's battle, he began to see patterns that others had missed. "They're not warriors," he told Lisa during another late-night briefing. "At least, not the kind we understand. They fight like a computer plays chess, following predetermined moves, assuming their opponent will do the same. When we do something unexpected, they don't know how to respond." Lisa nodded slowly. "So how do we use that?" "We do everything they don't expect. We hide in places they think are impossible. We attack when they think we should retreat. We make them afraid of every shadow, every piece of space debris, every signal on their scanners." The new human strategy took shape over the following weeks. Instead of trying to match the aliens' superior technology, humanity would use their weaknesses against them. Small groups of ships began launching hit-and-run attacks throughout the solar system, striking quickly and disappearing before the aliens could respond. Engineer Zoe Parker developed new types of weapons that did not work like traditional human technology. Instead of trying to punch through the aliens' advanced shields, her designs found ways around them. Electromagnetic pulse generators that disrupted alien systems. Gravity bombs that crushed ships from the inside. Viral programs that infected alien computer networks. The aliens found themselves fighting an enemy they could not understand. Human ships appeared from asteroid fields where no ship should be able to hide. Attacks came from directions that made no tactical sense. Weapons struck in ways that their shields were not designed to stop. Lieutenant Tom Bradley led a squad of fighters that specialized in the most dangerous missions. His team would fly directly into alien formations, causing chaos and confusion. Before escaping in the resulting disorder, they painted their ships black and called themselves the Shadow Squadron. "The aliens think space combat should be neat and organized," Tom explained to his pilots before a mission. "Two fleets meet, they exchange fire, one side wins. But we're not going to give them a neat, organized battle. We're going to give them a nightmare," his words proved prophetic. The Shadow Squadron's attack on an alien supply convoy turned into a running battle through the asteroid belt. The alien escorts found themselves chasing human fighters through a maze of spinning rocks, unable to use their superior firepower without risking hitting their own ships. By the time the engagement was over, the entire convoy had been destroyed, and Tom's squadron had suffered only minor damage. More importantly, the surviving alien ships fled in different directions, their formation completely broken. The war was changing. What had begun as a one-sided massacre was becoming a deadly game of cat and mouse. The aliens still held the advantage in technology and numbers, but humanity was learning to fight in ways that neutralized those advantages. Engineer Maria Santos worked with Marcus Webb to develop a new type of ship that embodied the human approach to warfare. It was small, fast, and carried weapons that could punch well above its weight class. Most importantly, it was cheap and easy to build, allowing humanity to replace losses quickly. They called it the Hornet, and it became the symbol of human resistance. Swarms of hornets would descend on alien positions, stinging again and again before vanishing into the darkness of space. The aliens began to show signs of frustration and confusion as their carefully planned operations fell apart, but the real test was still to come. The aliens had been patient so far, but their main fleet was gathering strength at the edge of the solar system. Soon they would come in force, and humanity would face its greatest challenge yet. The question was whether their new tactics and weapons would be enough to survive what was coming. As the war dragged on, humanity began to understand they were not fighting a single enemy, but a vast alliance of alien species that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. The captured alien technology revealed the truth about their opponents. They called themselves the Galactic Council, and they had destroyed dozens of civilizations before turning their attention to Earth. Dr. Marcus Webb's research team had been working for months to decode alien communication networks. What they discovered was both fascinating and terrifying. The Council was not just a military alliance, it was a rigid system where each species had a specific role that had not changed in centuries. The hegemony species provides military leadership. Marcus explained to Admiral Lisa Torres as they studied the alien data. They plan every battle, make every tactical decision. The collective handles all technology and computer systems. The Dominion controls resources and logistics. Each group is incredibly specialized, but they cannot function without the others. Lisa studied the information with growing interest. What happens if we disrupt their communication? That's what we need to find out. Based on what we've learned, if we can cut the connection between these species, their coordination should collapse. The military leaders cannot operate the technology. The technology specialists cannot make tactical decisions, and the resource controllers cannot adapt to changing situations. The theory was tested during the Battle of Europa Station. Colonel Ryan Mitchell had noticed that alien attacks always began with a complex communication sequence between their ships. Using new jamming equipment developed by engineer Zoe Parker, his forces managed to disrupt this coordination just as the aliens began their assault. The results were immediate and dramatic. The alien fleet, which had been moving in perfect formation, suddenly broke apart into separate groups. Ships collided with each other as they tried to maneuver without central coordination. Some vessels fired on their own allies. Unable to distinguish friend from enemy without their computer networks, Ryan's human forces struck while the aliens were in chaos. The Hornet squadron swarmed through the confused alien formation, targeting command ships and communication relays. Within an hour, the alien fleet was retreating in complete disorder, leaving behind a dozen destroyed vessels. It worked exactly as predicted, Ryan reported after the battle. Cut their communications, and they fall apart. They've become so dependent on their system that they cannot think for themselves. But the victory came with disturbing news. Intercepted alien communications revealed that the Council was becoming desperate. Their inability to quickly crush humanity was causing problems throughout their empire. Other species were beginning to question the Council's power, and rebellions were starting on distant worlds. Captain Amy Foster discovered this during a deep space reconnaissance mission. Her ship intercepted a coded transmission from the Council's high command. The message was clear and terrifying. If they could not defeat humanity through conventional means, they would use their ultimate weapon. The weapon was called the Void Render, and it was older than human civilization. According to the alien records, it had been used only once before, to destroy a rebel planet as an example to others. The device could tear apart the very fabric of space, turning an entire world into cosmic dust. They're going to destroy Earth completely, Amy reported to the command staff. Not conquer it, not occupy it, erase it from existence. The message said the weapon is already being prepared. The news sent shock waves through the human leadership. All their tactical victories meant nothing if the aliens could simply delete their home planet. But Dr. Marcus Webb saw an opportunity in the alien desperation. They're making the same mistake they made at the beginning, he told the emergency council meeting. They're assuming we'll react the way other species have reacted. They expect us to surrender when faced with overwhelming force. Admiral Lisa Torres looked at him grimly. What are you suggesting? They're bringing their ultimate weapon and their greatest fleet to our solar system. Every important council leader, every advanced ship, every piece of their most secret technology. It will all be in one place. If we could somehow turn their weapon against them. The idea seemed impossible, but engineer Zoe Parker was already working on the technical details. Her team had been studying Council technology for months, learning how their systems worked and, more importantly, how they could be sabotaged. Their technology is incredibly advanced, but it follows rules, she explained. The same rules that make their communication systems vulnerable to jamming make their weapon systems vulnerable to interference. If we can get close enough to the void render, we might be able to reprogram it. Lieutenant Tom Bradley volunteered to lead the mission to infiltrate the weapon. His Shadow Squadron had become experts at impossible missions, slipping through enemy formations and striking at targets that should have been unreachable. We've been preparing for this our entire lives, he told his pilots. Every human who has ever refused to give up when the odds were against them, every person who has ever fought for something they believed in, they've all been preparing us for this moment. The preparation took weeks. New ships were designed specifically for the mission, small fast vessels that could avoid detection and carry teams of technical specialists. The pilots trained constantly, learning to fly through the energy field surrounding the alien superweapon. Meanwhile, humanity's factories worked around the clock to produce as many ships as possible. Every vessel that could carry weapons was pressed into service. The plan was simple in concept but terrifying in execution. They would throw everything they had at the Council fleet, creating enough chaos for the infiltration teams to reach their target. Dr. Corinne Stone led the technical team that would attempt to reprogram the void render. A computer specialist who had spent her career studying artificial intelligence, she had become an expert on alien computer systems through months of captured equipment analysis. The aliens' computers are incredibly powerful, but they think in predictable ways, she explained to her team. They process information linearly, following established patterns. Human computers are less powerful, but they can think creatively, making connections that alien systems would never consider. As the alien fleet approached the outer edge of the solar system, humanity made its final preparations. Every person on Earth and Mars knew what was at stake. This was not just another battle. It was the moment that would determine whether humanity survived or joined. The list of species the Council had eliminated. The alien fleet was the largest ever assembled. Thousands of ships stretched across space, surrounding the massive bulk of the void render. The weapon itself was larger than a city, covered in energy collectors and transmission arrays. It pulsed with power that could crack planets and tear holes in reality itself. At the center of the fleet, the Council's leaders gathered to witness humanity's final destruction. They had ruled the galaxy for millennia, and they had never faced a species that refused to accept defeat. Today, they would make an example that would be remembered for another 1,000 years, but as their fleet moved toward Earth, they failed to notice the small, dark ships that followed in their wake. Humanity was about to show them that there was a difference between being beaten and being broken. The Council fleet filled space around Earth like a metal storm. Thousands of alien ships moved in perfect formation, surrounding the void render as it powered up for the final strike against humanity. The weapon's energy collectors began to glow, with deadly light drawing power from the nearby stars to fuel the destruction of an entire world. Admiral Lisa Torres stood on the bridge of the flagship Victory, watching the alien armada through the viewing screen. Around her, the largest human fleet ever assembled waited for her signal. Every ship that could fly and fight had been gathered for this moment. Military vessels, converted cargo haulers, mining ships fitted with weapons, even civilian craft carrying volunteer crews. All units, this is command, Lisa broadcast to the fleet. Today we fight not just for Earth, but for the right of humanity to exist in this galaxy. The aliens think they can erase us like they have erased so many others. They are wrong. We will show them what happens when you threaten the human race. All ships attack. The human fleet surged forward like a wave crashing against a cliff. The first wave consisted of the hammer ships, vessels built for one Purpose only, to get close enough to alien targets to cause maximum damage before being destroyed. Lieutenant Commander Tom Bradley led his Shadow Squadron at the front, their black ships nearly invisible against the stars. The alien response was immediate and devastating. Energy beams lanced out from thousands of ships, creating a web of destruction that should have stopped any attack. But the human ships did not attack as the aliens expected. Instead of forming neat battle lines, they scattered in all directions, weaving through the alien formation in patterns that seemed random but were carefully planned. Tom's squadron struck the first blow, diving through the alien defenses to attack the communication relay ships. Their weapons, specially designed to disrupt alien computer systems, sent cascades of electronic chaos through the Council fleet. Ships began to lose coordination, firing on empty space where they thought human vessels should be. First wave successful, Tom reported as his ships pulled back from the initial attack. Alien communications are disrupted, beginning second phase. The second wave of human ships was already moving. These were the converted cargo vessels, carrying experimental weapons developed specifically for this battle. They fired gravity bombs that crushed alien ships from within, electromagnetic pulses that shut down entire squadrons, and viral programs that turned alien computers against their own operators. Captain Amy Foster commanded one of the cargo ship groups, leading them through the gaps in the alien formation. Her vessel, the Defiant Hope, had been rebuilt so many times that almost nothing remained of the original freighter. Now it bristled with weapons and carried a crew of volunteers who knew they were flying toward almost certain death. "This is for New Geneva," Amy whispered as she targeted an alien battleship. "This is for all the colonies they destroyed." Her weapons found their mark, punching through the alien ship's shields and tearing open its hull. The battleship spun out of control, colliding with two other Council vessels before exploding in a ball of fire. But the real purpose of the human attack was not to destroy the alien fleet. It was to create enough chaos for the infiltration teams to reach the Void Render. While thousands of ships fought and died around them, a small group of specially modified vessels slipped through the battle toward the massive weapon. Dr. Karen Stone crouched in the cramped technical compartment of the infiltration ship Whisper, her hands flying over computer interfaces as she prepared the programs that might save humanity. Around her, the ship shook as it dodged through energy beams and debris from the battle raging outside. 2 minutes to target," called the pilot. "Are you ready back there?" "As ready as I can be," Karen replied. "Remember, we only get one chance." At this, if the aliens detect us before we can access their systems, it's over. The Whisper and its sister ships were marvels of human engineering, designed to be as undetectable as possible. They used alien technology captured from previous battles, modified with human innovations to create vessels that could slip past even the most advanced sensors. As they approached the Void Render, Karen could see the weapon's true size. It was larger than some cities, a construct of metal and energy that pulsed with the power to destroy worlds. Around it, smaller ships moved like worker ants, making final preparations for Earth's destruction. "We're in," the pilot announced as the Whisper passed through the weapon's outer defenses, docking with the control section in 30 seconds. Karen felt her heart racing as she prepared to leave the ship. Everything humanity had learned about alien technology, every breakthrough her team had made, every sacrifice made in the war, it all came down to the next few minutes. The infiltration team moved through the Void Render's corridors like ghosts. The alien crew, focused on operating their ultimate weapon, never expected enemies to be walking among them. Karen and her specialists reached the main control center without being detected. The alien computers were more advanced than anything humans had ever built, but Karen had spent months learning their patterns and weaknesses. Her fingers danced across the control interfaces as she began the delicate process of reprogramming the weapon. "The targeting system is locked on Earth," she reported through her communicator. "I'm trying to change it, but their security systems are fighting me." Outside, the battle continued to rage. The human fleet was taking terrible losses, but they were accomplishing their mission. The alien formation was in chaos. their coordination broken by the unexpected attack patterns. Ships collided with each other as they tried to respond to threats from all directions. Colonel Ryan Mitchell led a squadron of Hornet fighters in a desperate attack on the alien command ships. His pilots flew through walls of enemy fire, their small vessels darting between the massive alien battleships like insects attacking giants. "Target their bridge sections," Ryan ordered. "Every command ship we destroy makes it harder for them to coordinate their response." His weapons found their mark, sending another alien commander to a fiery death. But Ryan could see that the human attack was beginning to falter. They had surprised the aliens and caused significant damage, but the Council fleet was simply too large. Soon, the aliens would recover from their confusion and begin to push back. In the Void Render's control center, Karen was making progress. The alien security systems were incredibly sophisticated, but they followed logical patterns that could be predicted. Her human intuition and creativity allowed her to find solutions that the alien programmers had never considered. "I'm in," she announced, accessing the targeting system now. Her hands moved quickly over the controls, changing the weapon's target from Earth to the alien fleet itself. But as she worked, alarms began to sound throughout the massive weapon. The aliens had finally detected the intrusion. "Security teams are coming," warned one of her assistants. "We have maybe 2 minutes before they reach us." Karen's fingers flew over the controls as she raced to complete the reprogramming. The Void Render's targeting system was fighting her every step of the way, its security protocols trying to lock her out. But she had studied these systems for months, and she knew their weaknesses. "Almost there," she muttered. "Just a few more seconds." The control room doors burst open as alien security forces stormed in. Energy weapons fired, and Karen's assistants fell one by one as they tried to protect her. But she never stopped working, even as chaos erupted around her. "Got it," she shouted as the final command sequence locked into place. "The weapon is retargeting." The Void Render's massive energy collectors began to turn, swinging away from Earth toward the Council fleet. The aliens in the control room realized what was happening and tried desperately to stop the process, but it was too late. Karen had built safeguards into her programming that locked them out of their own weapon. As energy beams cut down the last of her team, Karen smiled. Humanity had thrown its final punch, and it was going to be a devastating one. The Void Render fired with the power of a dying star. The energy beam that was meant to destroy Earth instead tore through the Council fleet like a sword through paper. Hundreds of alien ships simply ceased to exist, vaporized in an instant by their own ultimate weapon. The massive beam continued its path of destruction, cutting a swath through the formation that had seemed invincible just moments before. Admiral Lisa Torres watched from the Victory's bridge as the alien fleet dissolved into chaos. Ships fled in all directions, their perfect coordination shattered by the sight of their own weapon turning against them. The psychological impact was even greater than the physical destruction. The Council had just seen their ultimate symbol of power become their greatest weakness. "All human units, press the attack," Lisa commanded. "The aliens are in full retreat. Don't let them regroup." The surviving human ships surged forward, pursuing the fleeing aliens through the solar system. The Hornet squadrons, led by Colonel Ryan Mitchell, harassed the retreat at every turn. Ships that had seemed untouchable just hours before now ran from converted cargo, haulers and mining vessels. But the real victory was not happening in space. It was spreading across the galaxy. As news of the battle reached other worlds, the Council had ruled through fear and the belief that resistance was impossible. Now, species that had been enslaved for centuries learned that the mighty Council could be beaten by a young race using improvised weapons and desperate tactics. General Robert Hayes, former administrator of New Geneva, now commanded humanity's first interstellar fleet. The ships were a mix of captured alien technology and human engineering, crewed by survivors of the destroyed colonies who had scores to settle with the Council. "Our first target is the Altair system," Robert announced to his fleet commanders. Intelligence indicates the Council is using it as a staging area to suppress rebellions in that sector. We're going to show them that the rebellion just got a lot bigger. The human fleet emerged from hyperspace to find the Altair system in the middle of a brutal Council crackdown. 3 species had risen up against their oppressors, and Council forces were systematically destroying their worlds as an example to others. It was exactly the kind of scenario humanity had been created to disrupt. The aliens had learned nothing from their defeat at Earth. They still fought in rigid formations, following predetermined tactics that made them predictable. The human fleet struck like lightning, using the same hit-and-run tactics that had served them so well in the solar system. Captain Amy Foster, now commanding a battleship built from captured Council technology, led the assault on the alien command center. Her ship, the New Geneva's Revenge, carried weapons that combined the best of human and alien engineering. The aliens found themselves facing their own technology turned against them in ways they had never imagined. This is for everyone who said humans couldn't win. Amy broadcast as her weapons tore through an alien dreadnought. We're not just winning, we're changing the rules of the game. The battle was swift and decisive. The Council forces, already stretched thin by rebellions across their territory, could not cope with the sudden appearance of a human fleet. Within hours, the surviving alien ships were fleeing toward the outer rim of the galaxy, but more importantly, the 3 species that had been facing extinction were suddenly free. Their representatives met with Robert Hayes on his flagship, and their amazement was obvious. "How did you do it?" asked the leader of the Tau Ceti rebels, a species that looked like walking crystals. "The Council told us resistance was impossible. They said no one had ever defeated them in open battle," Robert smiled grimly. "They were wrong about a lot of things. The most important thing they got wrong was thinking that all species would fight the way they expected. Humans don't follow their rules." As word of the victory spread, more rebellions broke out across the galaxy. Species that had been enslaved for millennia suddenly saw hope where none had existed before. The Council's rigid empire began to crack under the pressure of a dozen simultaneous uprisings. Dr. Marcus Webb, now serving as humanity's chief scientific advisor, worked to understand the broader implications of their victory. His analysis of captured Council records revealed the true scope of their oppression. "They've destroyed over 300 species in the last 1,000 years, he reported to the Earth government. Any civilization that showed signs of independence or innovation was eliminated. The galaxy has been held in a state of technological and cultural stagnation for centuries. The knowledge only strengthened humanity's resolve. This was no longer just about survival, it was about liberation. Human fleets began appearing throughout Council space, not as conquerors but as liberators, teaching other species the tactics and technologies needed to fight back. Engineer Zoe Parker established training centers where alien rebels could learn human methods of asymmetric warfare. The lessons were simple but revolutionary. Use your enemy's assumptions against them. Turn their strengths into weaknesses and never accept defeat as long as you can still fight. The Council expects you to fight like they do, she explained to a group of former slaves. Stand in lines, follow procedures, accept orders without question. But you're not Council soldiers, you're free beings fighting for your independence. Act like it. The results were spectacular. Council forces that had crushed rebellions for centuries suddenly found themselves unable to cope with enemies who refused to play by established rules. Ambush replaced formal battles. Sabotage replaced direct confrontation. Improvised weapons replaced standard military equipment. Lieutenant Tom Bradley, now promoted to major, led training missions that taught alien resistance fighters the art of space guerrilla warfare. His Shadow Squadron had become legendary throughout the galaxy, a symbol of hope for the oppressed and terror for the oppressors. Every species has its own advantages, he told his students. The key is learning to use those advantages in ways the Council can't predict or counter. Your enemies have been fighting the same way for 1,000 years. That makes them predictable, and predictable enemies can be defeated. As the rebellion spread, the Council's empire began to collapse with shocking speed. Worlds that had been loyal for centuries, suddenly declared independence. Trade routes that had operated for millennia shut down as former slaves refused to serve their masters. The rigid system that had seemed unshakable proved to be surprisingly fragile when faced with widespread resistance. The end came faster than anyone had expected. The Council's high command, faced with rebellions,